we've been having a very heated discussion over the break about taxes, our debt repayment to China. This was a conversation we started before we went on break. I'm here with my two guests. With me is a law student. His name is Roy Ocheng. And I also have Kariuki Thiongo, who's an infrastructure developer. Karibuni Tana to the show.
Absolutely.
And just before the break, we were talking about China possibly taking over, our Kenyan port if we default on a 2 billion shilling euro debt to China. All right. This is amid revelations that the country, Kenya, could lose the port of Mombasa to the Chinese government if the National Railway Corporation defaults in paying the payment of 227 billion shillings owed to Exim Bank of China. And just before we went on break, Mr. Thiongo here had a very interesting proposal that we should just refuse to pay back the loan right now because this is our port. And of course, our law student here, adamantly saying, but we've signed a contract. We have an agreement with them. And at the end of the day, we're the ones owing the debt. So
True.
it's very hard to say that we're not just going to repay the debt.
Absolutely. Joyce, we took the loan, we've done all this. The world changed since the lockdown. Mm-hmm. What is of priority to this country is not that debt. What is of priority is the Ministry of Health.
Sure.
That is of priority. We cannot pay for that. That money should be used for health care. That is the priority that is there. Whatever legal things, every country is handling its own things, its own internal issues. Each country is on lockdown, their own things.
And
now,
precisely because it is precisely because our healthcare right now is the priority. Mm-hmm. Then, life is also give and take, right? We made an agreement. We're not able to reach it. Mm-hmm. Because we're going to prioritize health, does that then mean the funds we would have directed towards repaying this thing, we now have to put into our healthcare?
That's the kind of thing we're talking about.
Meaning that we are indeed at risk of losing this port because there's a contract that has been created between these two countries.
Yes, yes. Okay, you see, contracts as they are, contracts are normally between two parties. And before you append your signature on a contract, you must be comfortable with the contract. Kenya, when Kenya signed this contract, this SGR was initiated back. The SGR rumor had been there from the Kibaki government, and then when the Uru's government came in, they signed the contract. I don't think they were under any duress when they were signing this contract, and they were sure, though it said that they never looked at the feasibility of this contract because apparently some people, as Kenya is, wanted some kickbacks. So we kicked in the project, and we decided to take a loan, and we attached the Kenya Ports Authority as the Kenya Ports Authority assets, that is being the Embakasi Inland Container Depot as well as Mombasa. If you look at the newspaper of late, what the Kenya Ports Authority has been doing is that they have been increasing their charges. Mm-hmm. Clearing and forwarding agents have been complaining because if you look at the charges that are being put there so that at least they can raise revenue. In that contract, it says that in any case there's a dispute. The dispute can only be solved through an arbitration.
Well, let me ask you this, Roy. Oftentimes in contracts, there are those clauses towards the end that talk about, acts of God or acts of nature. If something like that is to happen, then perhaps then the terms would be renegotiable. And hopefully, I think that's what Mr. Thiongo here is trying to lean on. Does that apply in this case?
As you look, Mr. Thiongo is trying to talk up that right now we have problems of the COVID-19. This thing is only less than 3 weeks into this country. It's even from the Chinese, it's only less than 3 months. We cannot hide behind the COVID-19.
Do you understand what a lockdown is, sir?
Yes, I understand, my friend.
And if there's a lockdown, honestly, there is no way anybody's going to come and tell me that I owe Joyce this and this. I'm going to say, listen, you handle your issues, I'll handle mine. When the time comes right, you want to come and enforce these contracts that you're telling me about. This is not a time to discuss about contracts. This is a time to discuss about lives. This is a critical, nasty time we live in.
Right, but I think what he's pointing to is that leadership is still needed.
Where do we get the money
from?
Okay, we don't have it. Fine, Roy?
So you said earlier that we should borrow more money from China.
Okay, we can even get more. Kenya is not going anywhere. The resources,
if we're to borrow more money, though, let me read this, okay? Because, Kenya, from was it this week or earlier this year, was to begin paying billions of shillings to China after this 5-year grace period that Beijing had extended to Nairobi for these loans. Okay, and loan repayments to China's Exim Bank would jump then from 31 billion paid in the year in the previous year to June to 71.4 billion shillings. That is a 130% increase, which the taxpayers then will be the ones to take over. So is saying really to get an additional loan.
What I'm saying, Joyce, is this, and I said it clearly, categorically from the beginning. Renegotiate this thing. Lease. Chinese lease this thing from us. We can turn this contract around because it's a priority of who needs it more than the other. And please, Roy, let's put the contracts aside here. Long term, Chinese will need this line more than we do. They'll need it for all the import export that they're doing from Eastern Central African economies. Everything they do. The China Belt Trade thing that's there. All the trade concession routes, we have them. They're ours. What am I saying is this? Let us wake up to reality. This is Berlin again, Berlin Conference, all over again, partition of Africa. This time we have a voice. You want this to pass through here? Pay me. You want to build it, but still pay me. It's passing through my property. I owe you on this one. That happened last week.
I wish we could apply that logic even to just the regular loans that we take.
No, because we have, what you're not understanding is this. Collectively, all of us.
Yes.
Collectively, how much was this thing, Roy, being told some time back? The Prime Minister saying this thing is going to cost it's costing us 10,000 per person, 100,000 per person. Right? I don't have the 100,000. Right? You don't have it. Collectively, nobody has it. So you tell me that we're going to sit back and put our national pride back and say, take over the port. You must be joking.
Roy, what is your solution?
You see, one thing that Mr. Thiongo doesn't understand is that loans between countries, between governments, are not like kiosk loans, where you go to Mamamboga and request, and when you
not saying that
they don't pay,
I'm just giving an example. I'm not saying that they are.
Okay,
listen, but there are. I believe that we have lawyers in this country. Just hold on.
No. He was already talking, so let him finish his point. He gave you your chance, Mr. Thiongo.
Yes, he did. But then the aspect of insinuating
he gave you your chance, Mr. Thiongo. Allow him to kindly finish, please. Kindly. Yes, Roy.
Okay. When there are agreements between countries, they are not like kiosk agreements. When Kenya decides to take a loan from the Exim Bank from China, Kenya is not the first country to take a loan from any country. Countries have been taking loans. If you look at the example of Sri Lanka, the Sri Lanka port, the president by then had been taking loans from China to build a port that, if you look at the feasibility study, wasn't going to be profitable. So when they were unable to pay, the Chinese ended up taking that port together with 15,000 acres of land for 99 years. Wow. Chinese, when somebody gives you a loan and you default, they end up taking advantage of your situation. When Chinese have taken this port of Sri Lanka for 99 years together with their land, they're looking at it as a gateway to the other side of Asia.
Of course. If
Kenya defaults today, China looks at the port of Mombasa as a gateway to the whole of East Africa. And I told you that this loan says that in any case, this agreement says that in any case there's a dispute, it is supposed to go through an arbitrator. And the arbitrator will be in China.
Yes.
And we will be under their mercy. Okay, what happens is that maybe the only problem that Kenya...
Why would I want to go down that road?
Because it is in the contract. Contracts are agreements and they are binding between two parties.
I agree 100%. I am agreeing with all that you're saying. But I am saying, and listen to me very, very clearly, we're in a situation here, right? A situation that's affecting 47 million people. And I'll tell you honestly, sir, there's no way, not even the president is going to sit back and tell the Chinese that I've got this money, I'm going to pay you first, I'm not going to feed my people.
Yeah, I think we agreed on that.
Now,
I think we agreed on that.
What am I saying? I'm saying that is there a way out? There is a win-win way out. There is. We're not saying we're not going to pay. We're just saying, let's look at this thing nicely and say, okay, fine.
We need time.
Apart from time, you need this thing more for your program to get all the things that you need. Pay us.
Okay, well, that's one solution that has been posted on the table. You're saying that certainly that may not work. We're going to park that one for there for
Solution
now.
will be the solution. I think right now will be in all loans, and right now you even had the president saying that for the banks that have given Kenyan loans, there'll be maybe an extended repayment period.
Right.
That is possible. We can have an
For
extended
rescheduling, we've been
repayment
saying
period. Already right now we had a 5-year
A 5-year
grace period.
Okay.
Maybe we may renegotiate to a 10-year grace period. But as you understand, even if we renegotiate, Kenya has an appetite for debt.
Yeah. I think we're going to leave it there. I think we hear what you're saying. We're certainly not going to put the lives of our citizens
Of course not.
before a loan, but we're saying as we do that, there are consequences to it, right? Including the fact that we may have to extend the debt repayment cycle of this loan. That is going to increase the amount that we have to pay, if already we're seeing a 130% increase in the amount that we will have to pay. But let's focus then on these 47 million Kenyans that we're desperately trying to safeguard. And let's finally talk about preventative measures. All right. So number one, maintaining social distance. From what you guys have seen, do you think we're doing pretty well at that? Again, it's very un-African to go places and not, be able to greet, not be able to talk and hug and I don't know, grandparents can't hug their children. How are we doing so far? What would be your assessment?
It hasn't sunk in yet.
It hasn't sunk in, absolutely.
It hasn't sunk in
It's
yet.
very difficult.
Reason being, last night, I was having my hair done. And Dan's young guy is on was doing my hair. I asked him, Dan, do you have any of these sanitizers thing and whatever? He reckons no. I asked him, how's your business doing? He reckons I was doing 1,000 before this thing, they call it this thing. And now I'm doing 600. I told him, okay. I told him about in 60 days' time. What do you think is going to happen? Because your buddies are going to be the border if it stopped, because of this distance thing, shaving.
Yeah. Okay,
tattoos.
so
What's going to happen?
people are definitely struggling with this at the moment.
You know what he told me? Remember, this thing hasn't hit home yet because nobody's dead yet.
Wow. Okay.
I asked him, you guys are going to wait for someone to die first, someone that you know is going to die first.
Yeah.
Then it hits you. Why don't we practice it now?
Absolutely. And some of the things that we should be practicing, of course, is washing our hands very frequently, practicing respiratory hygiene. Someone was joking around that nowadays, at least, watu wamechanuka, they're starting to, those who previously weren't washing their hands even after visiting the loo. Hopefully nowadays,
they're thinking about it.
Nowadays, at least they're thinking about it, right? Hopefully they're doing something about it.
If you look at, as I always say, and you see, for me as a youth, and most Kenyans, a bigger population of Kenyans right now is below 35.
Yeah.
And Nairobi has a population of around 5 million. Around 3 million live in informal settlements. I want you to go, I don't know whether you ever traveled down to Mathare or into Soweto, in Embakasi East, or to Kibra.
Yes, I have, sir.
Social distancing can work in Runda. Social distancing can work in Muthaiga. But social distancing can never work in Kibra. Because even if you want to distance, the roads going down to the kibanda or to the kiosk is too crowded. You don't have to chase your neighbor. It's not practical. And even if you look at what we say, that washing hands, let us be honest that in Nairobi there are people who do not even have drinking water. Therefore, where do they get water for washing their hands? If somebody doesn't have drinking water, somebody doesn't have water to flush a toilet, never even seen a flushing toilet. They go to the flying toilets. So social distancing is going to work, but to a few.
Wow.
And I have seen in countries like China or in the US, the billionaires are contributing to help the less fortunate. But in Kenya, right now, the people, the middle class and the rich think that when they protect themselves by buying sanitizers in bulks, they are safe. Okay, you may be safe as you, but your gardener, if he's not safe from where he comes from, will still bring you the virus. So I think what the government may do now is to make sure that even before they talk about washing hands, provide the water. There's no water.
Wow. Roy makes some very strong points there, Mr. Thiong'o.
Water. Oh, okay. COVID has taken everybody by surprise. Everybody has to wake up. Again, it goes back to the individual. Yes, I agree with you, Roy. Some places don't have water. A lot of places don't have clean water for that aspect. A thing I do know that government is working on, especially for Nairobi, they are working on this because one of the fundamental things of having clean hands is clean water.
Yeah.
But if you, I don't know if you've noticed, right now we seem to have a lot of migration up country, right?
Yeah.
And most of the people who are doing this are in the informal sector because they understand. The Kenyans are not, we're not stupid. We're smart, we're very smart people. We understand that, you know, we're staying, our houses are small, roads are small, everything. Move your people back home. People are doing that. That could be social distancing. Not necessarily per se whereby we're staying 1 meter of where we are, the way we are now. But that is going to come within the next 6 months,
but
7 months.
I mean, certainly Roy has raised some very pertinent points there. So as much as we are creating these preventative measures, we need to make sure that they're accessible to all and available to all. Gentlemen, I really want to thank you for your time here today. And just before I release you, let me just read out some interesting history facts here. You know, with this new coronavirus from Wuhan, China, some netizens believe that plagues throughout history, starting from the 1720 plague, hold a pattern. Because in 1720 it was the Great Plague of Marseille. This was the last significant European outbreak of the bubonic plague. It killed a total of 100,000 people in the city of Marseille, France alone. And then in 1820 was the first cholera pandemic. By 1820, cholera had spread to Thailand, Indonesia, and the Philippines. And on the island of Java alone, the outbreak had caused the death of 100,000 people as well. In 1920, was the Spanish flu. And in 1918 to 1920, the world was faced with the influenza pandemic that was 2 years long. And it would be the first of 2 pandemics to involve the H1N1 influenza virus. And then, of course, here in 2020, we have the coronavirus, and the rapid spread of the virus has causing COVID-19 has sparked alarm worldwide. And certainly these are very interesting times for all of us to live in, right? Like, you know, children at home, business meetings not happening, countries and cities being locked down. Let me have your very final comments because I need to go on break very briefly, literally like 5 seconds each of you. Go ahead.
Okay, what I want to tell Kenyans is that let's have hope. I don't think this is not the first time the world is having a problem.
Sure.
The world has had the First World War, we had the Second World War, we had the 2008, the economic recession. We have always emerged strong, as the president said.
That's right.
Very soon, humanity, okay, together with God, we are going to make it.
Absolutely.
Another 2 or 3 months, we'll be okay.
Very well said.
Yes.
Mr. Thiongo, final comments.
Well, I'm an optimist. I believe one time, I'll use a story. One time, a group of people in a meeting and in heaven, and the Almighty God, someone came and said, God is going to send down water down again and finish up the whole earth. And the Israelis who were there, they sat back and asked, said, excuse me, say what? And I told God has said, it's going to send down rain again for 7 days.
Oh dear,
So
Mr. Thiongo, I wish we had time for this
everybody
story.
panicked. But the Israelis said, within 7 days, we shall know how to breathe underwater.
All right.
So
We're going to
Kenya,
make it through.
We're going to make this through.
We're going to make it through.
Listen to our leaders.
Thank you very
Follow
much
what
to
they
you,
say.
Mr. Thiongo. Thank you very much, Roy, for coming onto the
Absolutely.
show. This has been a great discussion with you both. We do need to take a break now, though, as we get ready for our second hour of the show.